Good evening, sir. We will wait for 5 more minutes in case anyone else is joining, and then we'll start. Meanwhile, others will.
Sure. So, Shruti, you have questions from them, right? So we're going to do what you were mentioning.
Yes, so we'll start with the session, and then afterwards we'll ask for the question. In case there is no question, I will ask. In open house, we will do this. We will also circulate a activity form for students to come with the business model Canva. They can search themselves and then create business model Canva
Okay.
themselves. And in case they want to present, they can suggest their name. Otherwise, we will extend today's session to open house as well, and also we will be taking up the questions tomorrow. Like we will have
Okay.
a good number of like 10, 20 questions there available there.
Okay. And I had shared uh, business model canvas last time. Do you have that? I mean, previous session
I need to
or
check with
previous time?
my team member because there's a lot of transition happening here. So I need to
Okay.
check. In case I'll find out, I'll share it again.
Okay. I'll see if I can send that to you.
Yeah, sure. If there is any mail trail of last year, you can send it to me. I'll just pick it up. Any which ways, before these sessions, Ajay Batra sir has took some sessions and he has asked students to create GTM canvas and other canvas too, which was containing all these particular segments. So they have already worked on those pieces.
Okay.
Yes, yes. They have also presented in last sessions. So they are pretty aware because before this we had a session on target and segmenting, and before that value proposition. They were having sessions on value propositions and positionings, all of those factors. So there, uh, so has guided them in the
Oh,
Canva
okay.
model. Okay,
Okay.
so uh, so let's start the session. Meanwhile, I'll also share some communication with students to join.
Okay.
So
Cool. So we're going to ask them to start presenting that.
that will be tomorrow.
Mm.
Today, it will be your presentation. Tomorrow, they need to present. Tomorrow is the open house. Today is the workshop.
Oh, okay.
If I, yeah,
I okay. I'll,
yes. So, so good evening, everyone. We are back with another workshop in our ideation stage learning journey. I hope all of you have been actively working on your ideas and applying the learning from the previous session on problem validation, research designing, value proposition, segmentation, and targeting. Over the last few weeks, you have identified your problems, understood your users, validated assumptions, and refined your target audience. Today, we move to the next important question. How will your solution create, deliver, and sustain value over time? So, this is where the business model canvas become critical. A great idea alone is not enough. For a solution to create a long term impact, it must have a clear understanding of its customer, key activities, resources, partnership, channels, cost, and revenue model. So, the business model Canva helps bring all these elements together into a simple framework and provides a roadmap for transforming ideas into sustainable ventures. So we are delighted to have with us Mr. Nanjunda, an entrepreneur, consultant, technology strategist, and futurist who has worked across diverse domains. As the co-founder of First Foundation, he has been driving efforts to foster scientific thinking and strengthen collaboration between academic, industry, and research institutions. His work spans building decentralized AI academia, AI infrastructure, advancing clean energy and electric mobility solutions, enabling technology driven waste management system, and exploring future facing innovation through his podcast 10 on 10, where he engages with global thought leaders on the defining questions of our future. So, I encourage all of you to actively participate in today's session. Think critically about your own idea and make the most of this opportunity to learn from an experienced entrepreneur and innovation leader. Don't forget to ask question or interact between the session. You can put your question in the chat box or you can unmute yourself and speak. So, without further ado, let us warmly welcome Nanjunda sir for today's session and let's begin the session today. Over to you, sir.
All right. Thank you so much for a very, uh, I don't know, a nice introduction, or rather a little long one. But uh, I understand that most times, most startups approach uh, business model canvas more from another theoretical aspect, where you just have to be doing some documentation and filling up things, which is not useful, but the uh, incubator or accelerator programs make us do it. So yeah, everybody make you do it, but how many of you have done it? Maybe a show of hands, if you're familiar, and what kind of a BMC are you familiar with? You can just click on the raise hand so that we'll know how many of you are familiar with this. Nobody's familiar? Wow. Okay. All right. So I'll do one thing. I'll start uh, sharing the presentation then. Let me.
Hello, team. It would be helpful as I have shared with sir, as well as you know that in last sessions we had worked on different canvas. It would be helpful if you interact in between the session, raise your hand, put your questions in chat box. It would be helpful to make this session more interesting rather than sitting silently. Let's make it a more of a conversation, a platform where you can get our particular help in creating your idea more sustainable. So, yes.
Yeah. Well, see, how I like to approach business model canvas is, one is that like uh, you know uh, one sec. Shruti just mentioned that it is useful or helpful, but most important thing I think is that it can work like an organizer for ourselves as entrepreneurs. And if we can approach business model canvas from that sense, it becomes much easy for us to use it and also take value out of it. And one other thing which I would like to point out here is that this is not a exercise that you do it at the start of your venture uh, only, right? It is good to start with this so that you have a single view of everything that is happening. and what are the aspects. And initially, what happens is when you're at the start of your journey as an entrepreneur, there are a whole lot of assumptions that you start with, and which is obviously what gets into when you fill up your business model canvas. But as you start progressing in your entrepreneurial journey, a lot of things start changing, and a lot of assumptions get confirmed, a lot of assumptions get shattered. So you also start seeing what works, what doesn't work, and how much of a deviation you have to take from assumptions and all that. So it helps for you to start revisiting BMC maybe once in 6 to 9 months, depending on the kind of the nature of your business. Because if you are in a business where a lot of things are changing very fast, and you're having to keep up with new features to one even be responsive to the market, or if you are having to do things which have to be responsive to the compliance system, because a lot of times uh, when you're an entrepreneur you don't have compliance in place, right? So you have to start a business and compliance catches up with the business, and then it becomes sets rules. And thereafter, you as an entrepreneur will have to realign your business to compliance. So that is another area where you have to do that. We can talk about it in terms of examples, or if you have doubts, you can ask me and we can talk about it. Or if you're not sure about your own line of business, how things change in that context, we can talk about it as well. So essentially, I would like you to look at it uh, from how you would approach a plan, and uh, and not a frozen plan, a dynamic plan, and something which is a lot more organic, because businesses are organic and it keeps changing, it keeps evolving, and you have to keep pace. And if you're able to keep revisiting on the canvas, you will start putting a structure. And why it matters is that uh, this helps you when you want to scale, when you have when you start growing, you start bringing in new people with more responsibilities, and if you have to give them how the journey has been, it becomes a lot easy for you to show them few more business model canvas over last 3 years, right? About 3 or 5 or 6, how frequently you are able to update it, so they can see that how your thought process is going and how you have approached it. It becomes much easier for you to give it to them and then sit and discuss wherever they have a doubt as why did this change happen and what prompted this, and why are we not pursuing that if it was actually making money, or what was actually making money if this says this model canvas says this is what is the target and there is this much of revenue achieved, but what is actually changed because it is not reflecting the subsequent BMC that you have filled in. So, it gives you, it helps you to relook at how you have approached it, what your strategy has been. Most importantly, BMC is helpful in aligning your strategy to operations, and also relook at how the strategy and operations have not been aligned, because a lot of your strategy gets captured here because this is your approach plan. But as you start progressing and as you start implementing in the operations, where things get lost and why, and if it is consciously lost, why so. So those are the reasons I would like you to pay attention to this, and we can go about it. Maybe we could also do it this way. I would like you to read it, because if you are face to face, probably it would be much easier for us to understand, or if somebody has a doubt, somebody is looking at it, and facial expression would give away sometimes that okay, maybe something needs to be explained. So if you have at any point of time something in the slide you don't get clarity on, so please raise your hand and we can make it a lot more interactive. So this need not be a one-way channel, and that's not helpful for either of us. So do I stay on the slide, or I would like you to go forward? I mean, images are yeah used, so don't give too much attention on spelling mistakes and all that. Uh, so look at this side and you have questions, I would like you to bring it up. And most times when we get down to uh, talk about the business model canvas, or I think even Shruti did mention that you've already gone through uh, each of these components, right? As customer segments and uh, customer value. So maybe you could actually use this opportunity to see whether your understanding or assumptions or even how you're defining them. If you want to discuss that, we can use this opportunity to talk about that as well, because it's very important that when we start putting it has to be as filtered as possible, as narrow and as specific as possible. So when we have to talk about a segmentation exercise, uh, uh, typically I have seen so many pitches, right? So there'll be people who'll say that my customer segment is uh, every Indian between the age of 19 and 25. See, it sounds like a narrow segment because there is age bracket and which pretty much narrows it, because India has an average lifeline of I think 73 or 78. I think 72, 78 between men and women. So in that context, it makes it a little narrow. But sometimes people will say that, okay, both men and women. Sometimes you further, some people say that, okay, 19 and 25 and men. But you can further narrow down to 19 and 25 men or women in this category of city, this class of city. A category, B category, or you define city in terms of population. I mean, of course, Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore, Chennai, Calcutta have been mapped as metros. And most of our ranking of the cities are largely from uh, the density of population, but uh, you will have to look at a lot differently, because if you are into clothing, I remember, I don't know the present date, but I used to run an analytics firm way back, and uh, we were doing basically analytics for retail businesses. And one of the brands was a premium client, premium international brand. And we were surprised to find, I mean, today perhaps it's not a surprise for most of us, but back then we always used to think it is a big city thing. And we found uh, the highest revenue for that premium brand, clothing brand, is coming from Chandigarh. It was not Delhi, it was not Bombay, it was not Bangalore, Hyderabad, Madras. It was Chandigarh. And then one other data which came out, uh, something similar, and another what we would otherwise classify as B, C category city. And then there was another data which we came across, was sale of Mercedes Benz was highest in another small town. So, how do you uh, segment your customer, target customer becomes very critical in defining or drafting a successful go-to-market strategy for yourself. So it's very important that how narrow can you go, and that is where a lot of parameters come in. That is where looking at competitions come in, looking at your own product and what are the distinct features or offerings or that gives you the distinction from your competition, and your own positioning and your own supply chain. So each of those parameters, either adds value or merit to your proposition, or brings demerit to your proposition. So you have to consider each of those things when you do that. So I hope you do understand this aspect, but see how narrow you can go. It's becomes little difficult when we talk to founders coming from sessions like this where it is sector agnostic. If it is a particular sector, it becomes much easy for us to drill down and uh, go narrow into it. But this is where I would urge you that stop, come back. I mean, you have something specific, then bring it in and make it a little more interactive as well. and probably more value for everybody. This is another slide you are already familiar. I assume this is what is perhaps you already gone through a session, and you will possibly find uh, every time somebody talks to you about value proposition, you will find it approached differently. Uh, so this is one part is given because one, if we are all of us are going by certain templates, then probably theoretically it won't be a problem for you to understand or relate with. But when you talk to people and each one is an entrepreneur, so most of the time each of us bring in uh, our own approach and our own understanding, our experience into it. So if you have looked at a value proposition slide, you perhaps even have a copy of what somebody else shared with you. You may find some things differently. So take it in a stride because what happens is that each of us bring in our own baggages of experiences from the sectors, industries, domains that we have worked on. So in that context, what you see comes from where we come from. And many a times you may even have to tweak it for your own business line. So you have to have a broader understanding of this concept so that how can you make it a little more narrow and specific for you. But what is fundamentally necessary is that what is the value proposition you bring? And this is where you obviously have a product, feature, solution, service, and what are the differentiators. One thing is that if you have well, good part is that none of you are familiar with any other business model canvas, because I remember some of the business model canvases doesn't capture the competition. So in fact, it becomes very difficult for you to be mapping your own value proposition and identify what is the differentiator you're bringing in without considering the competition. So that is where it is important that uh, when you're doing that, you also look at the competition in that sense. So here again, uh, see, sometimes each of the aspects are not relevant for every line of business, or the broader approach is what we need to be looking at. So if you have to look at this is obviously channels from a go-to-market point of view, and most times you always look at it that if you're a B2C is when you need to be looking at each of those things, but if you're a B2B, some of those things are not relevant, which is not really the case, because some of the components are relevant even if you're a B2B, even if you're a B2G. So perhaps it doesn't matter if you're only doing consulting, but if you're having any product or a solution business, then a lot of these things become a uh, become a criteria for you to be looking at it. So that is one reason why you need to be looking at channels effectively. Another reason why I would like you to look at it and also recollect the point of having to have, or a business model canvas should or must capture your competition as you perceive competition to be, is here. See, there were times when we were looking at channels as, I mean, the competition as strictly something you got to be on guard with, right? I mean, you have to be aware of, but you need to be close to them from the point that they need not know anything about you. You need to protect yourself. I mean, basically treat them like an enemy. But over the course of time, a lot of things are getting more rationalized. See, we are operating in a world where you need to be looking at is it possible that the competitor I'm looking at as a competitor can also be a channel for me to reach out to my target audience. So, see, this is where you need to be actively observing your competition and see is there a value proposition that you can take through your competition, which could also mean a value for your own competition and also to the customers whom they already have in their, uh, you know, uh, their kitty, or they have already access to their catering to some amount. But what you do have to be cognizant to is that how easy or difficult for your competition to uh, offer it on their own. Would you be just giving away them idea, or why should they be even considering to take you along to their customers? And likewise, why should they even offer their solution or products to your customer through you? Why not they go themselves and you also go yourself? So why, what would that uh, demand a collaboration? So those are the things which you need to be really studying and looking at it. So is there something that gives you a faster access, and which would mean better positioning? Is it possible that you can help your own competition, that they see that they can earn one extra rupee or dollar for from every customer by having you with them? And or would it mean that they're able to retain their customer better by having your services offered along with them as a platform? Or likewise, if they come along with you, what value would it add? Would it allow you to have faster reach? Would it allow you to have much deeper access to and retention of your customer? Or would it contribute to directly to your bottom line? So as much as you think, what am I getting? You also will have to think, what are they getting? And while you do that, you also have to do a risk evaluation as what are the things you stand to risk. So from that respect, you not only look at only the customer. Of course, here in this slide, it is purely customer focused, but I would like you to, I'm just trying to add that filter on each of the slides with you, that I would like you to start thinking in that direction, because then your approach to business will expand. So if you have doubts in the context of your own business and you want to talk about it, we can discuss that. I'm not only pausing to sip my coffee, but I would also like you to read up, and then we can go and talk about each of it. So ideally, what I prefer to do is uh, what are the things that you don't understand here? And in the context, specific to your context, what are the things, or what is it that you're finding it challenging, so that we can actually do? Or you could also talk about that you have approached it in certain manner of any of those things, right? A pricing strategy or a revenue model, or even a monetization method, but you're not sure uh, that in the context of the segment that you're targeting, you're getting good feelers, like, it's just been thumbs ups, but not translating to real engagement, right? So it's not really translating to real business. So if you have specific questions on that, we can take it up. Either after this, we can go specifically to each of your doubts, I mean, corresponding to this, or we can even probably do it in the other next session as well. So I hope you understand each of those things, right? It's simple English, personal assistant, self-service, automated service, communities, co-creation, right? Each of those things. Yeah, somebody wants to say something?
So we can see the first slide only. Can you please?
Sorry, you're not seeing the slides?
No, we can see the first slide only.
Oh boy, I'm on the sixth slide. Why didn't you stop me earlier? Uh, why is it?
Now it is moving. Now it is moving.
Oh, okay. So I had actually okay. All right. So sorry about it. I don't know why it happened. So all right, this was the second slide I was talking about uh, customer segments. What I'll also do is that if you think this is useful, I can send a PDF to you. And I mean, if anybody wants, you can share it with them.
Sure, sure. Little.
Yeah, but honestly, why others? None of you also brought it up. I mean, are you guys looking into some nice, interesting reels while this is on? Since anyway we are on. We are on mute. So this is the value proposition slide when I was talking about it. So the filter I was referring to as competition. This is the channel slide. So none of you saw any of this, is it?
I don't think so because it was not
Okay.
moving. It would be helpful, guys, if you can share these kind of stuffs if you are facing.
I'll do that. I'll send you the PDF. Okay.
Sure, sure.
No, I didn't realize because I was sharing the whole screen
Yes.
and I thought it follows if I make it so it looks like the problem is that if I start doing a show, it just gets
Yeah.
frozen. So slideshow is
No,
not
this is better. We can see this. We can
okay.
see the screen fully in this mode as well.
Okay. So this is the slide I was in. So I was referring to. So is there any slide you want me to go back to if you guys want to quickly look at it, or can we continue from here?
This time I would like to call out few names because I have saw them talking in all the session, but this time I don't know. Hariharan, Varun, you guys were speaking earlier. Could you please share Vivek? Yes. Any inputs? Anything which you have, which you think that you have missed? It could have been better, or you can, you want to reiterate, but that particular content. I hope you guys are listening. Team, could you please raise your hand if you are here? Hello. Can you hear me? Can you just give a thumbs up? Yes, I have saw one thumbs up. That's great. Others too, if you're here, could you please give a thumbs up? Okay, that's much better. Okay, okay, that's more. That makes the actually this particular workshop more interactive. Speak up, talk in case you are finding something that doesn't work for you or not. That's helpful for now. You can start the session. Meanwhile, we let you know in case we face any other trouble.
Well, just Shruti, I'm not sure. These are all student entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs?
They are from college, like they are doing their bachelor's, masters, and they are from tech background. They are from engineering colleges. So these are
Okay.
students. Yeah,
Okay.
they are college students basically.
Okay. All right. Well, see, I don't know what you're studying. I mean, are they all computer science or any? I mean, it's across.
Across tech background. Could you please also anyone who wants to share about yourself, what you are
Are they
doing?
mandated to be here? I mean, doing these things, or is it they have come here on their own interest?
So they share their ideas. Then we help them to create their ideas, particularly framing the BMC through these workshops. And after these workshops, like after these ideation stage workshop, those students who will able to elaborate their BMC's revenue models and their blueprint of their prototype, they will get a they will get an opportunity to go into a prototyping stage where we will give them a replenishment to create a basic prototype model. So in
You mean
ideation,
you will fund their
yes, sort of, sort
prototype
of.
building exercise?
Yes,
Okay.
sort of. We won't fund them, but we will give them the enough money to create a basic prototype to showcase. And like between these students, top 10 team will get the opportunity to get a seed grant, 5 lakh seed grant at the end of the stage. So our basic idea
Okay.
to help them understand the entrepreneurship build a entrepreneurial skill set around them. So that's a basic idea in this. And in ideation stage, we don't push anyone. They come here on their own interest and to understand this and create their do their activity around it and share it. And
Okay.
at the end we will see that who will get the opportunity to move forward to prototyping stage. So we help them.
Okay.
This is not mandatory, but in case anyone thinks that he can, like at the end of the task, at the time of task submission, they can submit the task without attending these workshop, well and good, they can submit. Our jury will evaluate and give them a scoring accordingly. In case someone needs support, for them we do these sessions on different topics, so that they can
Mm.
come across, they can meet the industry experts, refine their idea, talk to them. So that's what happens.
Okay.
So this is our fifth session, that's why they might be like that we have talked enough, or we have communicated enough, but we are left with few more sessions, two sessions from your side and one more sessions in market analysis is remaining, and after that they will have their task submission. Yeah.
Okay. Uh, okay. I can do one thing. One, I just continue with these slides. I don't know whether you're finding it engaging, interesting, or something that was going to be helpful for you, because this comes down at a point of time, not when you're building a prototype, but when you've decided that you're going to be building a business. So maybe if it helps, what I'll do is that I'll anyway run through it so that at least you get familiar with the concepts. And I think for the balance time, if you have questions, or what I could also share with you is that uh, I come from a generation and how the business was approached. In fact, when I first founded my company, or first time I became a founder, the word startup didn't exist then. So we were referring to it as business. And last thing you expect is somebody to be funding it. And last person you can even think of is that there is somebody who wants to help you build a business. So today you have so much of opportunity, that government is doing things. You have agencies like NASCOM, and so I mean, I'm sure many of the colleges also have your startup uh, uh, entrepreneur cells or whatever, right? And you have so many opportunities coming your way. And many a times, a lot of these things available, so you don't take it as seriously. But I would really like you to take it very seriously, because things are going to be changing, and things have already started changing significantly. And the way forward has to be where you take charge of your own life, and nothing like being an entrepreneur to take charge of yourself and your life. And also, the reality is that, I'm sure you've heard, or there is an overload of AI taking away jobs, and I'm sure all of you have started using AI, and it's obviously making life easier at smallest level possible. But just to share with you that 3 years ago, back in 23, see, I was doing some research, talking to some of the heads of HR of very large companies. And one of the large company, very large company in the IT space I was talking to, uh, I don't want to even give the number of employees, because in one of such sessions somewhere I actually mentioned those numbers, and one guy immediately picked up and said, "Okay, I'm talking about this company." So I don't want to be putting it out on public domain particularly, and definitely not on record. And also, they're obviously one of the founding members of NASCOM. So I don't want to be creating situations. But the reality of what the head HR was telling me, or rather, my question was very pointed and straight. How many employees do you actually need to keep up the same revenue? This was 2023. Uh, he looked a little uncomfortable. I had asked him to meet for a coffee, and I had told him I'm doing some kind of a research. I published a book in 24, so I want to talk to you and all that. So he said, see, he had agreed to talk to me, but it was obviously that it was just for me to get a broader understanding and not to quote him or refer anything about his company because that was not acceptable. And we didn't go through the uh, legal department and through their PR department and all that. It was a personal access and asked. So anybody wants to guess what was the percentage of employees that they could do to keep up the same revenue? The response what he gave. Just you want to just chat, give a number, give it. Or you want to speak up, speak. Hello? Anybody wants to take a stab at it? Go ahead. Guess. I'm just asking you to guess what percentage of employees that they would be most relevant to keep the same revenue or generate the same revenue? The response of the global head of HR of that company. Make a guess. You're not getting any rating scoring for this. It's just a guess.
So meanwhile, Hariharan shared that. Could you please repeat the channels part?
Channels part. Okay. So someone said 6 to 10%. Oh, okay.
That's me only.
That's you. Are you saying 6
Yes,
to 10% of the existing employees are good enough to meet the same revenue?
might be. I was thinking lesser, but yeah.
Or less than that?
Yes, I yeah.
Yeah. Well, Hariharan is right, actually. They said
Oh,
50%. Uh, See, mind you, they're one of the largest employers. They have
mm,
few lakh employees, and
mm,
it ranks among the top 10 companies that most software engineers passing out would want to get into. Whether you as an engineer wants to get into or not, your parents would be extremely happy and proud of you if you make it get into that company. That is a kind of a company. And back in 23, they said that they can easily meet the same revenue targets with 50 or less percentage of the number of employees. So why am I telling you this? The jobs are evaporating. That company is not in isolation. Most of their peers are also in a similar situation. See, what's happening in India and globally also, a lot of these things are politically driven. See, these companies, most of them have offices across India, at least in 5, 10 cities across India. And if you look at it, most of these companies are having huge land banks in each of those cities. And those lands have been given to them at a throwaway price or a subsidized price by the government because they are invited to create jobs in those states. So there are political compulsions. If they actually reduce the headcount, their stock price goes up because as long as their profitability, you can imagine, right? 50% of the headcount, but they're keeping up the same revenue, obviously their profits will be much higher. But there are political compulsions, geopolitical compulsions. They have to keep minimum X numbers of employees if they are to get commitments on uh, getting those visas in different countries. So there are a lot of these things. So likewise, minimum so many jobs for them to get a massive piece of land with some subsidies to get a land in one of the cities wherever in India. So a lot of these compulsions, initially it looks very enticing. You go for it and then you're in a situation. So in your context, what I'm trying to tell you is that jobs are evaporating. See, a lot of jobs are still existing, but for the reasons, political and geopolitical, nothing economical, nothing business. If situation goes bad, right? I'm saying if war escalates, and some of the projects disappear. Because see, it's not that uh, uh, the pressure is for India because they are getting projects from outside, right? Not every country operates like that. Not every country businesses are compelled to keep up with their employment numbers or employment number commitments. The governments don't interfere in much of the Western countries. So they actually chop, and they even know some of the Western countries, you know what's happening. They're also putting pressure on taking away the jobs. And AI is doing pretty much a lot of these jobs. In fact, this conversation was even before they actually started employing significant amount of AI. So today, with all the AI, you could imagine that how much more that whole number can shrink. So you have to take your entrepreneurial opportunities a lot more seriously, and take advantage of these kind of sessions, these kind of help that you're getting, and try it out. You know, you're at an age you can actually do a lot of mistakes, and you learn at others' cost, and nobody will. I mean, of course, in India, unfortunately, failure is not appreciated, but things are changing slowly. And whether whatever people call, it's your life, right? You have to pay your bills and eventually. So every failure is a bigger learning, or the or takes you that much closer to what you want to be achieving. So take your these kind of efforts a lot more seriously, because you actually have this advantage, and unfortunately many a times you guys don't even realize that you have this advantage. um, Channels, right?
Yes.
So, see, I was talking about in the channel slide, I was talking about approach with competition in mind, but obviously I've not captured that filter. Maybe I'll see if I can do another visualization of how do you integrate competition and approach it. But I would like you to approach it with that as a filter, because a lot of this approach changes, and it works win-win. And I've seen it in multiple cases where I'm personally involved in my own business cases. In fact, I have a meeting on Thursday, and see, a lot of times people, it's not that it's a new concept. A lot of times people have been working like that. You probably have heard of or familiar with the term cartelization, right? Where you form some kind of a cartel between you and your next competition, and then don't allow other competition to come up. But I'm not referring to cartelization. See, cartelization is an old format where the top one and two agree, or one and three, or two and four, usually work together and try to protect their interest, and also not allow somebody else to displace them from their positioning. So that is where cartelizations have been useful. I'm not really referring to cartelization here. I'm referring to a lot more deeper collaborations. And this is actually beginning to happen. If you look at it, the whole world looks at Apple and Google as competitors. The top three, top five list, they all compete with each other because they're listed there. And many areas they also are identified. Okay, Apple took over, got ahead of it, and all that. But in the AI play, Apple very quietly withdrew from continuing to build their own LLM, and they aligned with Google. So, in fact, immediate reaction of the market was that Apple stocks fell. That was very briefly. See, such corrections keep happening because then smarter people take over. They realize that it doesn't make sense. And one honest thing, what was significantly beneficial for Apple was that meant their investments in the AI infrastructure side is going to be limited. So they have so much more bandwidth to play with other things. See, if you look at it, uh, other than Microsoft, right? Meta significantly invested in AI. Of course, Microsoft is. Of course, Google is. In fact, Google also has, I think, There, I don't remember the numbers, but what I saw was something like $400 billion debt, right? Of course, their numbers can justify, but point is they are taking up that kind of a debt. But a lot of these things come with a significant opposition. There is a huge opposition building up on the general population side in America against data center investments. They want, there's a campaign happening. I don't know how many of you have been looking at it. That not in my backyard. So basically, whatever data center that is already set up in their towns, they want it to be removed. They're saying not in my backyard. So those you just try to look up not in my backyard campaign. You will see a lot of such activities are happening. So the move by Apple to align with Google was fantastic. But of course, there was an immediate reaction, which Apple obviously thought through it. So that is a classic channel partnership, so to speak. Of course, Microsoft also did that. While Microsoft has its own investments in AI, they also invested in ChatGPT. Well, even after investing significantly in ChatGPT and taking good controlling stakes on that, while it runs independently, they also continue to put more money on Microsoft's AI efforts also. So you have to measure and see what works best for you. So that is where I was referring to from this. You have any specific questions you can ask? Uh, I don't know if Coca-Cola and Pepsi, I'm not aware of their collaboration really. So maybe Vimal, why don't you share something more? They both have been hardcore competitors as much as I know. So I'm not really sure. I'm really curious. What is the collaboration they both have together?
Well, I didn't mean the collaboration, but they are the competitors.
Correct. Correct. Yeah. Whereas can they collaborate? Probably, but will they? I think they both have become so much against each other, right? I mean, they have been those two brands are being built as competition is the enemy kind of a thing. So I'm not sure whether they will ever come down to collaborating with each other, but you can never rule out, right? I mean, a leadership change can do lot of things, lot of different things in that. But yeah, any other cases you guys can think of where collaboration has happened?
But I think they will not allow others to compete with them. Like they don't allow other brands
Okay.
to come up at the same level.
Well, that is true. I mean, every competition is always trying to do that. But lately, like I was saying, that see, a lot of these companies have started collaborating with each other. So it's not just about staying on top. And how do you stay on top? By cutting the leg of the other. But that thought process is changing today, right? Today, Elon Musk announced X.AI, and then he went and collaborated with what's the name of the company? Claude's company's name?
Anthropic.
Anthropic. Yeah. So they collaborated together. So and Apple and Google. So see, long-standing competitors have collaborated project-wise, but with AI, it's not project-wise. These are a lot more deeper collaborations that are happening. So uh, it's a different kind of cartelization again, if you see, because it's hard to see who will be left standing in the long run. But uh, of course, I have a very different thought about no matter who stands uh, from a user standpoint, we would still have significant advantages of AI, even assuming the biggest AI companies collapses because they are over-invested, they are not monetizing as much, or they have raised too much of capital and they won't be able to show the profitability. So it's a bubble. That is one side of the argument, right? People are talking about this as being a bubble, and also it could be resource related things, right? Tomorrow, Indian population can stand up and protest because we have Google invited to set up a $1 billion uh, uh, data center, AI data center. But think of it, it's a insignificant investment from for Google, which is near a $1 trillion company, uh, investing on 1 billion in India to set up a AI data center. But what is being offered to them is way too much, right? They're getting free land, free utilities, that is subsidized energy, water, and uh, and also I heard that government has offered them data. So essentially, government is offered to become a customer by giving even the government data, which is basically the public data. Once they set up, and government of India has already announced 25 years of tax holiday for those investments here. So that is why Microsoft is setting up a AI data center. Google already is setting up this one we talked about. Then Meta is setting up one more AI data center here. So some of them also have local partners, like Meta is doing along with Geo, and Geo is also doing one more independently. Then you also have other players. Adani is into it. You have L&T is into it. You have HCL into it. You have quite a few companies who are pretty much, overnight they became a significant data center player because they hived off their IMS business into it. So it's not just multinationals, but Indian companies have also got into this race. But we will also have similar situations. Uh, the not in my backyard kind of a thing, because we still have a lot of uh, situation in the way the energy is utilized, the way the resources are employed. And also, honestly, there is a wrong expectation in terms of this is going to create a lot of jobs. Uh, Unfortunately, uh, they are not, apple to apple kind of a expectation. So if you invest, one of the other businesses I'm in is in the electric business. So we have two things, right? We do electric bus manufacturing, new buses, and one other thing is retrofitting diesel to electric. So one of the state governments we were talking to, uh, we told them that your existing diesel buses needs to be converted to electric because we just don't have enough electric buses, and also government is encouraging pushing for electric and diesel buses. Already diesel have been stopped in many countries, and in Delhi also diesel has been banned. So India is going towards the electrification of all the transport system. So we need to be having more electric buses, but the number of electric buses India produces is way too small, around 15,000 per year. And order book already reads about 1.5 lakh. So nearly we have 10 years to fill up the last order, so to speak. So if we have to increase the electrification, we need to be looking at retrofitting it. And you know what the state government said? You come and set up a new electric bus plant, and we'll give you 200, 300, 500 acres, how much you want. Okay. And for retrofitting, they don't want to give any land. You know where the jobs are? In the retrofitting. Because if you are getting anybody to set up a new electric bus today, anybody would do as much automation as possible. It doesn't make sense. Today, you actually can build. See, there was a time when the Lexus became the Lexus because the whole factory was operated by one person. It was fully automated factory. But today you have your Xiaomi phones made in a fully automated factory where just one person is employed, where they make, I think 2,000 or 5,000 phones can be made in a single day. So previously, I remember having gone to Nokia factory long back when Nokia was actually selling directly Nokia. Today, Nokia brand is licensed by somebody else. So, and Nokia was the biggest phone company those days, and the factory was outside Chennai. And those days, they had, I think, about 300 employees or something. I think that was the largest, uh, what do they call it? Clean room facility, right? Where 300 people could simultaneously be inside a clean room. So it was one of the first in India and blah, blah, whatever. But obviously, they were not making 5,000 buses, I mean, phones a day, whatever the numbers, I don't remember today. But today, you no longer have that. See, 275 people work in the clean room, another few hundred people work outside, and then other support infrastructure. So a factory would operate with 1,000 people today, can operate with maybe two or three people at best. One person to operate the factory, one person to keep the books, and one person security. So you can imagine where 1,000 people are replaced by three people today. So if you put a new bus factory, uh, much of it can be automated. So even if you're making 5,000 buses in that, the whole employee count would not be more than 100 to 200 people. But if you have to do retrofitting, you cannot have so much of automation because it involves taking out about 10 components out of the bus and fixing them back. So this involves a lot of manual intervention. So even if you do employ automation, the cost will go up too much. So here, those skills will also be relevant. So I was trying to give them a picture that in retrofitting, I can directly create 5,000 jobs. And here, I won't be able to do even 500 jobs. What do you think the government said? Anybody? Just make a guess. You don't lose anything. We're not talking about any, we're not naming any government, but the people, one of the state governments, basically.
Think they agree to it?
Sorry?
Did they agree to it?
They?
Did they agree to
No, they
retrofit?
didn't agree. They sent a word through somebody else that these guys are not serious. They wanted a new factory. A new bus factory is what is better appreciated. See, a lot of decisions and policies are made for optics, not for actual relevance. Very unfortunate. So if you're in business, you need to understand how do you prepare something for optics and how do you prepare something for being relevant. So I thought I got a great case, and they will understand it. It's uh, so sometimes our own as an entrepreneur, right? When you're running your own business, uh, your own intellect becomes your problem. So if you think that you're trying to do something, so sometimes you forget that what they like to hear. So you need to be able to communicate what they like to hear and get your thing through. Probably it would have been much easy for us to get a 300-acre land and get investments and parallelly start working on it. It would have been much easier. But trying to tell them or educate them, see, a lot of times that's a mistake I have done too many times. So probably you should start looking at it as where do you stop educating? Where do you focus on what matters to them? Let's do that. I think that has been a biggest difference in how businesses have succeeded in many cases. So a lot of times you're not required to be very smart. Sometimes your own intelligence and smartness becomes a hurdle for you to be progressing in your business. So best is that you put somebody else who is about, or talk it out, rationalize what matters to them, which we actually don't do many times. So for me, it's a lot easy to tell you, but when it comes down to my own business, my hubris takes over. So I keep trying to tell that, let's dumb down, but try applying. Can we move forward on this slide? Uh, I think we were here. We didn't talk about it. I was telling some of the story. So, is there anything you don't understand here? See, another thing what I would like you to understand is that a sense of ownership. See, when you are trying to build a business, you got to understand what is it that you own, what is it that you control, and also if you are bringing in partners and investors, what are you sharing with them? Ownership, control, or value? Are you able to distinguish them? Think of your own businesses, your own products, your own business. Are you able to distinguish ownership, control, and value? If you're not able to distinguish, I would like you to start thinking on those lines. You can control something, you don't necessarily have to own them. You can share value and you don't have to share ownership. Once anybody wants to give a simple example on that so that I'll know how well you could connect with that or understand it.
I can give an example from my own
Please.
understanding.
Yep.
For example, if there is a company, uh, the co-founder of the founder is the CEO of the company, and she is also the board member. But sometimes they hire someone who is not connected to the company. Maybe they have like different skill set, so they hire them in the board member. So at that time, uh, even though they may not have the ownership of the company, but they can still control the decision making. That's my understanding.
Uh, yes and no, but good answer, Vimal. Uh, See, I think I don't know if you have followed recently this chap Shiv Kumar, who used to be the CEO of, I think he was CEO for Nokia India, I think. He recently came out of board of, I'm forgetting which company is it. Very large company. I don't know. Is it Haldiram? I'm not sure. So one of the very large public listed company, he was an independent director. And he came out of the board and he made a whole set of allegations that a lot of things are not done properly. One of the allegations he made, I remember, is CEO is overpaid. And another comment he said is that the bottom of the pyramid, the basic staff are not paid as per the Minimum Wages Act. So, I mean, these are serious allegations. See, CEO being overpaid is not an allegation, it's okay. But most of the employees at the bottom are not paid minimum wages. I mean, this is a serious compliance issue. In fact, he resigned from the board and then he made it public. And then the board issued a statement that they're constituting a committee with other board members and immediately to review and address all the non-compliant issue and all that blah blah. So I do know. So independent directors are liable for wrongdoings. Unfortunately, they don't necessarily come with uh, 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 power to control, right? We can't really. uh, so I've been on the board, and wherever I've seen, I've exited the board, and I've seen multiple contexts where one other good friend of mine, he was the chairman uh, of a fairly large institution, and because sometimes, when people are in good places, they are invited to be on the board. So he got invited, he accepted, he thought he knows everything, and uh, we he had come down to Bangalore. I'm based out of Bangalore, so we met for dinner, and he was telling me, I was asking, you became, I mean, they even announced that he's joined the board and all that. So I asked him, so how is it going? And he said, I resigned. It was just 3 4 months. I asked him why, what happened. So here the chairman and managing director had few family members on the board, and they invited him because he had a good profile. He's a good guy to have on the board, optics, but they just wanted him to agree with them. They didn't want him to be putting his head into their business. They just, you come, you take your fee, you just enjoy. I don't need you to be giving me gam, right? So a lot of people actually treat independent directors also like that. So it's a mixed bag. So it's not really always it works like that. But if I have to give you a example of okay, one classic example, you will find the recordings. Okay, it's not for me. Okay, one classic thing is that whether you're a one-person company or you have multiple co-founders and directors, and even if you're offering employee stock options, so pretty much every employee in your company has ESOPs. It's not that your whatever the business you do are enjoyed only by these people. That is your founders, investors, and employees. There is a there's a factor of uh, there is a I always tell people that there is a ghost partner, the invisible partner, and you have to be cognizant to it from your day one of your business, and that is government. So compliance, there are definitive expectations on the taxations you need to file. Of course, as a startup, many businesses have tax exemptions, but having tax exemption doesn't mean that you actually don't pay, because if you're buying components, buying products, buying raw materials, there are different grade of GSTs. We don't have a common GST, right? There are depending on the sector you are in, there are different things that apply, and also if you are importing some components, there are different taxation that are applicable. So somebody had published a few years ago that and any automobile company in India, if they are selling a car for 10 lakh rupees, I'm giving you a very high level number, right? Don't hold me for it, but Google if you can find that, or I'll see if I can find that. So if you're buying a car at 10 lakh rupees from an X brand, how much is the brand owner or the OEM making? And on an average, the OEM was supposed to be getting about 40% of the selling price. If it is 10 lakhs, they're getting about 4 lakhs. So 4 lakhs includes their cost and profit. So the rest of the money goes down. He had given an interesting breakup where it goes into the distributor, the dealer, and road tax. So each of those components, and finally the breakdown showed that uh, all the tax components, right, the road tax, GST, and each of those components actually constitutes close to about 35%. So an OEM doesn't make that. If you start a company, you build a company, and you're selling something at 10 lakh rupees, you're not taking 3.5 lakhs home on selling one car at 10 lakh rupees. You probably take home about a lakh or less than that. But the compliance ecosystem takes close to 3 lakh rupees. So you have to be cognizant of it. You have to plan, you have to understand these things. Please don't look at it that I'm trying to give you anything negative about it, but there is this thing. A lot of people, when they plan their products, they don't look at the compliance ecosystem. So uh, there are positives of it, there are negatives of it. Of course, there is a strong negatives about having unions and people were protesting, and there is a protest even from the IT industry that they didn't want to unionize it. And there are also examples of factories and manufacturing businesses collapsed in India in many areas because of unions. But there is another excellent article I came across by one gentleman who actually built a manufacturing business in Kerala. He not only got a Japanese company to invest in them, eventually he even sold it to them, and that company is still thriving there in Kerala. Of course, he exited. And he made a very strong case as why uh, union is important. But it is a good case. He made a good argument on it, and he also had multiple unions. He also talks about his own personal example of how he used to handle the union and all that. But as much as a great case it was, but I would really like any of you who's into are looking at getting into manufacturing line of business, I would like you to read that. It's a fantastic piece. I'll see if I can find it. I'll send it to Shruti on that. So it's very important. And he was an entrepreneur, mind you, he's not a politician. And why he was making a case for a union. But of course, there are challenges. There are businesses which have also died because of it. There are businesses which got manipulated because of a lot of politics. But this guy, he's a living example, phenomenal guy. And he's also, I don't think he's written books, but nothing about these things. So maybe I should ask him to write about his own entrepreneurial journey. Sorry, coming back. What was I talking about? Yeah, I would like you to, I hope I could give you the ownership, right? So technically you own and you are responsible where the responsibility stops with you. But another case, what I was also telling you is that where you have ownership and separate ownership and from value. So do you understand that part? How do you separate ownership from value? Very simple thing. Any of your into stock market? I know these days students are into stock market.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So can you tell me how do you separate ownership and value?
Value is like a worth of the company, like economic worth of the company.
Correct. By buying a share in a company, you have not bought the ownership. You do have a right to exercise, right? In a general body, you can go and you can agree, disagree with whatever the policy the company makes, but you have bought into the value of the company. And with the growth of the company or the losses the company makes, you also carry the value of it, plus or minus. But the quantum of your holding it will only determine the ownership of it. But if you
Yes.
have a lesser holding, you don't get the ownership, but you get the value. So that is where how you actually are able to separate ownership and value. And why is it? Why are we talking about it at an early stage of a business? You actually can apply that. So, of course, in the West, there are different category of shares people offer. In India, we don't have dual category. I mean, there are voting shares and non-voting shares and all that. Here, we don't have such a model. So I think that is another thing India will progress into. I think policies will be changed to have these things. Some of these things will have to come into practice. But even without that, if we are able to do tokenization, you actually can separate the ownership and value. What you can do is you can offer a value of the company and not the ownership of the company. So just to give you another example, why it matters. Uh, see, today we talked about, there are Meta, right? Meta has raised billions of dollars in funding over a period of time. And Mark Zuckerberg, as a founder, still owns it significant amount of. I mean, he has a significant ownership and control of his company. But if you look at Infosys, uh, there was a time when I looked at Infosys, they had less than 9% equity of all the founders put together, founders and their families put together. Last year, sometime I looked at it, it was about 13% of holding of the Infosys shares were between the founders and families. So pretty much the financial institutions which hold significant equity decide who's the CEO. Of course, Nandan Nilekani was made a chairman by the board, but it was not a choice, as in not that he could stay or the other founders could decide on it. He was actually brought in by the investors because there was something else, and they wanted him to kind of stabilize the image and whatever. So, so founders don't have control of it. So that is another reason why Sridhar Vembu, Zoho, he does not want to go public. See, if he was probably running this business out of US, he would have probably gone public because he could still hold his control and how he does the business and still raised capital through the IPO or going public. But in India, he chooses to not go public because it takes away his control, and what he says, his freedom, how he wants to run. Because freedom to run comes with the control that you hold over your company. But if he dilutes his stake, you lose the control. So another side of it is this is where it is important that I mean, one side the policy also has to change, and other side this can significantly change the way businesses are done. Yes, Vimal.
Uh, if the founders get the freedom to make the choices, to have the control over the ownership, then why do some founders go public? Some companies.
Uh, see, capitalization. Have you heard? See, if I'm investing and I'm continue to invest, I need to be able to take money out, right? So going public would mean I get easy access to capital because all the shareholders, you buy a share, right? So at the start of the company, I say I value it at 10 rupees per share. And at the time I go public, if my share is worth 10 rupees, is worth 400 rupees, 500 rupees, and you would still see value because you think that 500 will become 1000 rupees, right? So I'm able to bring in capital by diluting my shares. So that is why people go, because it's a easy access to capital. See, mind you, in India, access to capital is extremely difficult. That is why India has more IPOs happening, because that is one of the significant ways to capitalize your business, your investments. And this is another reason why India has a thriving investment market near IPO. So once you are ready to IPO or going towards IPO, it becomes much easier for you to attract capital because the investor sees opportunity to capitalize. Otherwise, we don't have a uh, easy way to raise capital. Of course, today you have so much of grants available from governments. You know, many state governments offer grants, many government of India offers grants, and also debt capital is available. This has not always been the case, and also what is available is very little. So when you're at a scale, you need a lot more money. So you won't be able to manage. So that is why it is important, and it is a good model here in India to have IPO. And a lot of times, uh, uh, beyond a certain size, government also mandated those companies to go public. So that is another thing which has happened in the past. And as of now, Zoho has a good relationship with the current dispensation. So we'll have to see if government will try to arm twist him to go public. But I'm glad. I mean, he's able to do and doing some amazing things. So I don't know. Did I answer your question? Are you clear?
Yes, sir, it's clear. Then, what about the VCs? Do they expect the startup to go public in the future if they are going to invest?
Okay. See, let's understand the investment cycle. Okay. When does VC come in? First, when you start a business, who are your first set of investors? First set of investors are typically referred to as three F's, right? Friend, family, and foods. So you need to have your friends. Somebody muted me. You don't like what I'm saying? Okay. So I was telling three F's, right? Friend, family, and fools. So you need to be able to get money across your own sphere of influence, right? Where people know you, they like you, or they just want to help you. But the next level is where you need to go into a seed capital or an angel investor who's looking at investing early on so that they can capitalize on their small investment, but early into the play. And there are angel networks, there are individuals. And problem here is that if I come with an investment, see, investment varies from 2 lakhs to 50 lakhs, even up to 2 crores as an angel or a seed. And most times we end up losing the money. How do you capitalize? How many of the companies that are founded go up to IPO, right? So in India, a lot of these complexities are also there. And also, how many of the founders even stick it out? Because I even know one of the incubation companies that I was also part of their investment council. One investment was made in one of the startups. They took the money and they actually went to US, set up a company, came back and dissolved the company in India. So whatever the IP that was created here, they just made it as an IP for in US, and they went after that market. So the company dissolved. So it just evaporated. So early stage investors have a big risk in India. So a lot of things are changing, but we still need the whole ecosystem to mature a whole lot. And this becomes difficult for many genuine entrepreneurs to be raising money. So the next level, when you go to VCs, see, unfortunately, again, what has happened is that much of the venture capital, what are the exits, right? See, if you are putting money in India, we have had a rule. Uh, it is called alternate investment firm, AIF. So most VCs are a registered AIFs in India. You have to be, AIF is a certification that you get from SEBI. So when you have an alternate investment firm license, there are different categories. I'll not get into that. But at a high level, there was a cap, or some of the categories has a cap that within 7 years, one, you can raise money. So if you announce that your VC fund will have, let's say, 100 crore, I get the registration today and I've got the first investment. Either I have put it myself or I got somebody else to come in as a fund sponsor and he put the first 1 crore check, right? Or of 2 crore or 5 crore. So usually as a fund sponsor, if you are having 100 crore is your target, you need at least 5% to be brought in. So let's say 5 crore. So 5 crore, I got the check. So I got the license with this. I have a 7 years window to raise the full 100 crore. One. And two, I have to identify, evaluate the startups and disperse the fund. And three, after having dispersed the fund, I have to find an exit within 7 years. Do you understand the complexity here? So you invest and you also exit. How do you exit? We need to get them to go IPO. For that, they need to be substantially big, or at least they need to be, we need to be able to package. So many of the uh, SME listed companies, a lot of people criticize in India as are valueless, but it's just a packaged business because people have done it or doing it to find some exits. Very unfortunate. But see, a lot of these rules are restricting the whole play. Of course, now there are some changes happening, but these are the situations what a lot of VCs. So that is where not much of access to capital was available because of these kind of rules. So within that, pushing them for IPO is tough. So then what is the next best option? Get them to acquire by somebody else or get an investor himself to acquire. I mean, get the founder himself to acquire. So a lot of times founder is happy to just walk away and start another company and get going with that. We've also seen so many founders defrauding. See, there are always two sides to it. It's not always that the founders just want to cheat the system. But if you are a founder and you're finding that you are having to struggle to get to a point, and for you to be enjoying something, if you have to still be struggling. See, a lot of times we have, I mean, this is my view, right? I mean, the popular view is otherwise. Unfortunately, in India, our socialist upbringing, I'm saying historically, right? Upbringing has made us to doubt, suspect, and criticize every successful entrepreneur. And that culture is changing. I see that. But what is important to see is that uh, we have to find rationality in it, right? See, there was a very large chain of business in India was overnight raided, and there was an arrest warrant issued on the founder, CEO, whatever, and one other board member of it, and both of them left the country and ran away. And the whole chain was frozen. Their bank accounts were frozen, and a lot of media was given that these guys have defrauded so much of money to this bank, that bank, whatever. All true. But just step back and look at it. They had 10,000 employees in India. 10,000 employees. Direct. Two, they had one of the largest chains of X business. I don't want to say what business. That means it's not that they owned all the assets. They had leased, rented so many properties across the country. Many of them were prime properties. So somebody else was making rental money, leased money, right? And they were getting paid on a monthly basis. They were monetizing it. And then the support infrastructure. See, 10,000 people were buying properties, buying vehicles, there were transportation, there was other ecosystem. So 10,000 people earning was supporting probably five people in each of their families. 50,000 people were living out of it. And then another 5, 10 ecosystem which was supporting them, catering to their needs. It could be a laundry guy, to it could be vegetable supplier, milk suppliers. You understand the whole ecosystem. So when things go so hard on, as an entrepreneur, my thinking is that, see, if somebody has done a traffic violation, right, you have violated the traffic. You're driving a car in the middle of the road. If police stops and punctures your tire, is that the right way to do it? You are not only creating problem, it is not solving the problem. It's actually creating a larger problem. You have created a traffic jam behind, and you have created an unnecessary damage. The vehicle could have been taken aside and figured out how do you extract the money out of them and make it right. If it is possible to take it back in 2 years, 3 years. See, a lot of times our approach to business has been so hard on. And funnily, uh, such actions by the agencies, government agencies, get a huge support from the public because of our socialist mentality, what I'm referring to. Generally, people like to hate an entrepreneur. He has made so much of money. He's at fault. So, see, I would like you guys to start reading it. See, as an entrepreneur, it is your fundamental responsibility not to be bought into narratives, but try to understand what exactly is the story behind. I know it's a little bit of a deviation from what we're talking, but we were talking about VC. I just went on that. But yeah, there are realistic situations. So it's easy for us to say in India, VCs are like this, VCs are like that. But there are a lot of complexities for even a VC to be operating. That is why we also find investors also kind of do cartelization. I will fund your pointed business because if I fund my own relatives or friends, there's a direct conflict of interest. I'll fund your nephew's business, you fund my nephew's business, we'll figure out an exit. And there are so many things. See, there was a point of time, there are a few VC firms who would be extremely aggressive. Some years ago, Tiger Global was a super successful VC firm. So most of the investment firms, VC firms, would just rally behind Tiger invests in A, you also invest in A. Tiger invests in B. So whatever Tiger does, right? 70-80% of their funds are allocated to the success. And even today, to a great extent, many people just rally behind these successful funds because they just don't want to go through the botheration. Because if Tiger is able to invest something, they also figure out how do they get that exit from there. So if you rally behind, at least you are safe that you're 20%, 30%, 50%. Some of them have even allocated 60, 70% of their fund base towards these kind of things. So they become safe, right? So everybody works towards being safe. And most importantly, you also have to understand why do they do something like that? Because of the system, the compliance and all that, most of the people in the VC community have never been entrepreneurs. They're finance guys. So why? Because they understand the compliance better. So somebody who's giving the money are able to trust them better because you don't want to get into a situation because of non-compliance. And also entrepreneurs will have their own biases. Yeah, I come from this sector. I know this, so I want to be putting it. And also entrepreneurs are prone to be more taking more risks. So as a finance guy, most of them don't take risks, so they are more cautious of it. So it takes away the core philosophy of it. So you have all sides of it. So if you're coming into the business, you have to be understand who, where, each aspects of it. Did I answer? I don't know.
Yes, sir, got it.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for just agreeing with that. Yes. So I know sometimes I tend to deviate, but I hope whatever I'm saying is useful or somewhere it helps you in your journey. Uh, what are we talking about? Key resources. Yeah, see, it's very important. See, everything starts with our assumptions, right? So it's very important that we have our assumptions well placed and well backed up. And another thing is, it's very important. Uh, are you able to see the icon for the resource for physical airport? Yes.
Yes, sir.
What do you see there?
Is it for PWD?
No, the icon just above
The
physical.
physical.
What do you
Yes.
see there? What do you see that? What do you think that represents, that icon represents?
Physically disabled.
Yeah. Why? Why am I saying that physical assets and resources, and why am I putting it as a disability? See, the key to any business is to look at how asset light can we be. Because any of the assets, right? The day you buy a vehicle, whether you buy it personally or for your entity or organization, it starts depreciating. The value was X yesterday, and today you own it, and the value is X minus, and it's significant. Do you understand that? So that is why every investment you make on machines, any physical assets, and if you're making an investment, see distribution network, again, if you're trying to own it versus if you're able to collaborate. So this is where you need to be approaching it with how can you be an asset light business? How do you get into a business without disability? How do you tap into resources without, I was about to say liability, but okay, one more quick deviation. How many of you think, I know you're all engineering students, you don't understand that, don't necessarily come from finance background, but how many of you think uh, if you have assets and liabilities, what is better to have? I mean, assets are good, liabilities are bad. Is that how many of you think like that? Show of hands. You understand what is asset, what is liability, right? Assets are what you own, control. Liabilities are what you don't own, but you have to pay for, like a loan, debt.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. What's the S supposed to be?
I mean, Govinda, we got to know that assets, we need to have assets, and we should reject
And
the liabilities.
you should reject the liabilities. Okay. Um, some years ago, uh, there's a large company in Bangalore, and the chairman, I was meeting the chairman. They had one of their group businesses. It's a large group. They had about 32 odd companies, and one of their businesses was into technology, and he wanted to hire me as a CEO for that company. The company had done well. They had actually started that business back in the 90s, and they had done very well. And this was in 2009, so about already less than 20 years, but 15 to 18 years, somewhere around that time. But the company was not doing well. So they had approached me if I can be the CEO of that company. I went, met them, we were talking, and the offer was that he will give me 50% equity because he wants an entrepreneur, not an employee. I was like, wow, that's a good thing. And two, uh, whatever the infrastructure, blah, 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 you run it. I mean, that sounded too good, right? I mean, it is good, right? Anybody thinks it's a bad thing?
No,
Then came the catch. I asked him, what are in the books? So he's nothing much to tell. There's a 5 crore debt on the books, zero revenue. Would you sign up, any of you? 5 crore debt meant I was to sign up for 50% of the liability. So I would sign up for a 2.5 crore debt. Would you do that?
I guess not.
Sorry?
I guess not.
Yeah, it would be signing up for debt, right? It's signing up a liability of the company. Why would I do that? So I told him, clear the debt and give it to me. You know what he said? He said, actually, he was very upset. It was in his conference room. He had a marker in his hand, the chairman. He just threw it on the floor. He got up from his chair and said, bloody middle class thinking. Why do you think he said that? Anybody? Nobody? He told me it takes me 2 minutes to call my bank and say, I'll negotiate, I will pay off. I don't even have to pay five. I probably can settle it at 2.5 years or even less. And they will clear the debt. I'll give you a zero debt company. But what will you have as a CEO of that company? You will have a zero company. Can you qualify for any bid? With this, today you can qualify for a project because the company has 5 crore in it. Even if it is under liabilities, there's 5 crore liability. Without that, you will go into a you'll go with a zero company. You will it's no history of, I mean, not a point when the company had 100 plus crores, but zero. It's as good as starting a fresh, which I actually said, otherwise, let's start a fresh company and leave this liability. So, see, that was the time I learned a biggest lesson is liability can also be an asset. Do you understand that? And business schools don't teach that. Do you guys understand that?
But can you put it in very simple terms?
See, with a 5 crore debt, I could go to bid for projects from government or large projects where I pre-qualify because the company has a history of having done business with a 5 crore debt, which is carried over from whatever the past. If I were to go with a fresh company with zero balance, I mean, zero revenue, so I'm a startup, you don't get qualified for any of those large projects because you don't have certain size. So company needs to be of certain size to qualify for certain value of the projects.
Okay, got it.
So, so sometimes, so you need to figure out. So liability is not a bad term, but you have to see it in the context. So that was the idea. So that was the reference to the physical. I see that we have less time, so I'll run through. Anything else you don't understand, you want me to explain, or I think we have few more slides. We'll just move. If you have doubts, we can come back. So,
Also, sir, we can take
yeah,
the slides tomorrow as well, as we are having the extended session.
okay.
We can also take the slides that time. In case you want to take it, you can take it.
Yeah, I mean, I would leave it to, you know, the participants if
Yeah.
they want to revisit on any of it in their context, we can do that. So after this, I will anyway share the PDF with you. You can share it with them, and if they have anything challenging from their perspective in their context, we can discuss that as well.
Sure.
So, so it's important that you have clarity of where you stand, right? What is the product? How are you approaching from a manufacturing? So what the business model canvas is supposed to be doing is to segregate them, put them into right boxes so that you have at every point of time, you have a view to it. But why did I start at the beginning saying that you need to revisit it after at least once in 6 months or a year, depending on the nature of your businesses? Because the product development journey changes as you start interacting with your customers expectations, and how the competition is playing, either responding to you or how they are operating, and how they are responding to their customer, which is also into your customer base. So you will have to keep evolving. So when you start, you make certain assumptions. So it is very important to map your own assumptions to the change of assumptions, because it is one, everybody talks about culture of the organization. See, culture is one, is the behavioral aspects, but a lot of things cannot be understood by talking or having a coffee or even a beer or spending times. Some companies have a way of going for dinner and lunches and spending time together for a few days. Cultures don't get transferred. Culture, actually, in my opinion, right? In my opinion, it's best understood by our actions and how we are able to react to the outcomes. And what BMC can do for you is, if you are able to keep up, with writing it, revisiting it, and updating it, you are able to capture your own founding team's organizational culture. How you approached it? What were the assumptions you started with? What were the status from a reality check sense, and how are you addressing it, with what are the course of actions that you are taking for the next set of it, right? I mean, when you refill or look at a BMC for the next segment of your business life, when you rewrite it, how are you approaching it? What was your starting point, and what are the changes that you are making into it? So that course of how we make decision, and how we read market, how we read opportunities and challenges, and what changes we are doing, see, that gives the sense of uh, culture of the organization. See, people don't need what God you worship or how you celebrate a festival to work for a company together. It is all about how you decide, how you react to a situation, and how do you approach a context, and how do you relook at your assumptions when they're right, when they're wrong, or how much of a change. See, those are the things which contribute to the culture of an organization. See, I don't know if you have had a session on organization design and culture, and if somebody has told you something different, but this is how I look at it. And that is why I propose that you look at, go back to BMC after some interval, so that you'll be able to capture it. And as you go forward, as you're bringing in people, it becomes much easy for them. And if people are not able to align, even when you're talking about onboarding them, they are not able to align to it. See, it's very important that you do that alignment exercise with them. How do they see? How are they able to empathize? See, it's not, empathizing is not necessarily that they agree with all the change, but you have taken a certain course in your life, and if they have to work with you, it is important that they understand how you approach decision making, and are they able to align to it. And if they are bringing an element of disagreement to it, but are you able to appreciate that disagreement also can make a change? Sometimes it's not about saying yes to them coming in. Sometimes it could even mean saying yes to, for you to step down or step back and get somebody else to be leading your own organization, because not all of us are, good to play all positions in a match, right? You can't be a opening bowler and a wicket keeper and a slip catcher, right? You have to be something at any given point of time. So you need to be bringing in different people, and there are times that you progress. See, why is it that some players like Kohli stay relevant even after 20 years? Because not because they're just good. What makes them good is that they're able to adapt to their own skills, and also changing pace of game with different people, and keep improvising on their own abilities so that they stay relevant. They're able to perform, still keep up their performance, even if they are not performing to their 19-year-old age, even at say 35. They are able to demonstrate the same outcome no matter how old they are, by changing and adapting with their own style of game to different things. So how do you bring that about? See, it's not an individual performance. Running a business is about getting many people to work together with you. So that is why, once again, I'm saying, look at BMC in that context. uh, yeah, this is another aspect, partnerships. So we talked about it, that competition, right, earlier. So I would like you to look at part- partnership also with the competitor. So it's always, the traditional approach is you partner with somebody who don't compete with you. But from a scale standpoint, from a relevance standpoint, many a times you have to consider even partnering with competitions. So you need to evaluate, you need to be a lot more strategic in your approach, and it always have to be win-win, right? You cannot work with somebody where only you will benefit and the other does not. So if you are trying to get into anything to outsmart somebody, that won't last long. So you have to be careful in how do you map it. But at the same time, you don't want to be outsmarted. So you need to really study them and see whether they make a good partner to go with at all. See, most times people give attention to what is a fixed cost because it's very obvious. It is directly glaring at you. And many a times people don't take variable costs into account. And many a times you don't even see at the start of your businesses, most of us, right, that we don't even cost our own time. So if I'm doing a business, I'm selling something at 100 rupees and I'm paying 90 rupees to it. And if I think that 10 rupees is my profit, that's the worst thing we do. We didn't look at cost of capital, because there is a cost to the capital also. Like if you think you're borrowing money from somewhere, a bank, the bank charges you an interest rate. That's the cost of capital, right? So if you're getting it as an equity investment, many people think it's free. It's not free. You're actually giving away equity for it. So there is a cost of capital. So everything has a price to it. If you're not costing your own time to it, if versus you're working somewhere else and you're getting paid salary for it, there's a cost for your time. So you need to start costing it and then evaluate what is your real cost. And then look at it whether are you really making profits or it is just on paper. See, most companies lose out because they look at paper profits and there's no money in the bank. So it is variables is where I urge you to be paying a lot of attention to it. And then look at as you move forward for the scale and scope and all that. Uh, I think 3 more minutes. So this is going to take a long time. So what I'll do is we can talk about it tomorrow, these 4 slides. Any questions now since we're going to finish? Did any of you didn't find this last 2 hours useful? Please do give your feedback.
Mhm. So, in case you have any questions, so as we come to the end, we will not share the scoring parameters yet for fifth scoring parameter for your task summation. We'll share it tomorrow only. So, tomorrow's open house will be your platform to present your business model Canva, take part in the session, which is the extended session, which sir will take. You come prepared with the questions, assumptions, or case studies you have saw. You see clarity around that. So own the stage tomorrow and take the opportunity to strengthen and the feasibility of your idea. And thank you, sir, for such an insightful session. And thank you, everyone who take out their time today from studies, from college, and participated in the session. Your attendance in the session will show the outcome not right now, but it will show at the end of the ideation stage, and its impact will be a lifetime knowledge you will gain around the entrepreneurship journey. So be active in the session, be talkative, get the inputs, because this is last few session you are going to have, and then we'll bombard you with like task and timelines and deadlines to submit your task, and then you will get opportunity to get into our prototyping stage. So we'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow again at the same time, and have a wonderful evening. And sir, if you want to
Thank
add
you.
any last lines, you can just go ahead.
No, see, it'll really help if you are little participative because I don't know. But yeah, thanks. Special shout out to Vimal. At least
Mhm.
Vimal is a entrepreneur. Is she part of your team?
Yes. She is so basically she is also a student from, if I'm
Okay.
not wrong, you are from DMK, Vimal. DUK,
No,
if
ma'am.
I'm not
Digital
from,
University of Kerala.
yes, from DUK, triple ITMK. Yeah, sorry.
Where
So
is
she is
that?
from digital. Kerala.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So people are from across different
Yes,
state.
yeah, it's Pan India. We work with the Pan India students, so they participate. These sessions are more like to build their knowledge around the entrepreneurship stage, because after that they will get into the prototyping and mentoring support. So they won't get such inputs. So currently we are trying to give them that. We are done with the 5 sessions, and uh, these are few last sessions, 3 sessions left, and so, yes. Thank
Okay.
you for joining, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks. Take care. Bye.
Okay, thank you.
See you tomorrow.
Thank you.